So that was Russ Barenberg along with Jerry Douglas and Edgar Meyer on their album Skip, Hop, and Wobble. And so Timo, what do you hear in Russ Barenberg? What's your response to his tone and what he does?
It's like something real clear about it. And it also doesn't sound like he's in a hurry. You know, like a lot of times the bluegrass stuff sounds like we're going to cram all these notes in there, and the next song we're going to cram some more notes in, and here comes the notes coming right in your face, coming down the line. This guy's like more relaxed, atmospheric again, right?
Yeah, and one of the things I was just noticing listening to him is it's subtle, but there's a lot of technique in there. At one point, he's doing these kind of triple note pull-offs, and they're very fluid. And
that's a jazz ornamentation for sure. That's a Charlie Parker thing right there.
Yeah,
or Sonny Rollins. That's a uliap, the buliaps.
Yeah, and so there's a real nice kind of the cadence and the flow of it is a lot of attention being played to that. Again, that thing we were just talking about earlier about tone and the warmth of the note and making each note kind of ring out.
At certain moments I was hearing crossover to King Sunny Ade, and I was even hearing crossover into like Indian music somehow, of all things.
He's very well studied, and as I hear you guys talk about him, it's like he's playing his personality. The things you just said about he's more relaxed and this and that, and that's his personality. And or being powerful and cramming in a lot of notes, that's the kind of personality Tony had. And
right.
And Russ is a mellow guy and a very smart guy. And yeah, it just reflected in his music. Yeah.
If you don't live it, it doesn't come out of your horn. That's what Bird said, right?
Yeah.
Basically, you play who you are. Anyways.
It's really true with Russ. I met him once and spent a little time, and he's just a thoughtful, gentle, sweet guy, and that comes through in the playing.
Right.
And, kind of where does he sit in the pantheon? Well, if you ever heard the Civil War documentary, that's him playing guitar on Ashkin Farewell, the big hit song. And he's also featured on the Transatlantic Sessions, that great series that puts together the bluegrass players and the Irish players.
Jerry always brings him to that. Jerry kind of manages that scene, and Jerry Douglas. And I think because Russ, he's a little more universal. Like a lot of people are right down their narrow scope, that they can only do one thing, like Tony did his thing strong, and he took it really far, but he wasn't as wide, diverse as Russ is, I think Russ could play a lot of different styles.
Yeah, and again, very well versed in the jazz stuff I've heard on other albums and things, good. And also we're hearing that nice ensemble string thing there with the trio, where they're really blending their instruments and the arrangement in a really a full, beautiful kind of way.
Yeah.
Is that guy playing like stand-up dobro? Is that what that is?
That's this, the old dobro there, flat on the lap.
He's probably sitting in the studio, but he stands with it too. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's a funny look.
Yeah, it's a flat. You got to get your right arm twisted under the strap some weird way. It kind of pins your arm down to the the hubcap there, whatever it is.
Yeah. For those who
resonator.
Well, yeah. For those who don't know, we talked about it a little bit in one of our other episodes, but there's a cone. There's a metal cone in the body of the guitar that's the resonator, and gives it that slightly more steely kind of tone. And then we also have the raised strings off the neck, and played with a bar.
Yeah.
And they're playing with metal finger picks too, right?
Finger picks, yeah. Jerry does all that, and he's never touched the strings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So next comes a guy that, Todd, you've done a lot of work with, and it's David Grier.
Yep.
And David Grier, speaking about kind of flat-picking lineage or bluegrass lineage, his father was the banjo player for Bill Monroe, right? Lamar Grier. So David kind of grew up literally in this world since he was born, basically hearing this.
Bill Monroe kind of like would set him on his knee as a little 2-year-old and give him penny candy, and he'd sit and watch rehearsals of the Bluegrass Boys in the front of the bus. There's a lot of great stories that can come out of Grier.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we'll have to get him on a future episode. And so I was hip to David Grier. You know, I listened to, of course, your trio albums and all that, but I hadn't done that deep dive into what he was doing until just recently. Spotify, right? Oh, hey, here's all these David Grier albums. I gotta listen to this guy.
Yeah.
And I came away like, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't get how incredible he was.
He's one of a kind. He's unique. Yeah, really special.
Yeah, and so let's listen to. Well, there's so much music of his. Again, he can't be justified in one cut. So we're going to listen to a couple of pieces of his, and the first is with Todd, yourself there on bass, Mike Marshall, Daryl Anger, kind of all these cats we've been talking about, but also Tony Trischka on banjo. And the opening melody you're going to hear is him bowing the banjo with a violin bow.
Jimmy Page style.
Yeah, right. And now we're getting into rock. And another name that comes up a lot on this podcast, a song by Jimi Hendrix called Third Stone from the Sun.